Dr. Taeho Kim walked slowly through the crystal forest of Kepler 442b. His boots made soft crunching sounds on the silver moss that covered the ground like a thick carpet. The tall harmony trees around him glowed with their usual soft blue light. This was his favorite time of day, when the planet's twin suns were setting and everything looked peaceful. Taeho had been working on this research station for 3 years now. He was a plant scientist who studied alien plants. Most people thought his job was boring, but Taeho loved it. He loved learning about how plants grew on different worlds. He loved finding new medicines hidden in strange leaves and roots. The research station was small and quiet. Only 12 people lived here. They were all scientists studying different things about this planet. Taeho was the only one who studied plants. The others looked at rocks or weather or the planet's 2 moons. Today had been a normal day. Taeho had collected samples from 3 different types of moss. He had tested them in his lab. He had written notes in his computer. He had eaten dinner with his friend Dr. Park, who studied the planet's weather. Now he was taking his evening walk before going to bed. The crystal forest was beautiful at this time. The harmony trees were tall and thin like bamboo back on Earth. But these trees were made of something that looked like clear glass. Inside each tree there were colored lights that moved up and down like slow lightning. The trees talked to each other with these lights. Taeho had been studying how they did this for months. As Taeho walked deeper into the forest, he noticed something strange. The lights in the trees were acting different tonight. Usually the lights moved slowly from tree to tree in gentle waves. But now the lights were flashing fast and bright. The trees seemed excited or worried about something. Then Taeho heard a sound he had never heard before. It was like breaking glass mixed with thunder. The sound came from deeper in the forest where Taeho had never walked before. The harmony trees around him flashed even brighter. Their blue light turned to white, then to red. Taeho stopped walking. He knew he should go back to the station. He should tell the other scientists about the strange sounds and lights. But something made him want to see what was happening. He had always been curious. That was why he became a scientist. He walked toward the sound. The crystal forest became thicker. The trees grew closer together. The colored moss under his feet changed from silver to deep purple. Strange flowers that looked like tiny stars bloomed on branches above his head. After walking for 20 minutes, Taeho saw something that made him stop and stare. In a clearing ahead of him there was a crashed ship. But this was not like any ship he had ever seen. Most ships in the galaxy were made of metal and had straight lines and sharp corners. This ship looked like it was alive. The ship's hull curved like the shell of a giant egg. The surface was smooth and white, but Taeho could see veins running under the surface like blood vessels. These veins glowed with a soft blue light, but the light was getting weaker as he watched. Parts of the ship looked sick. Dark spots spread across the white surface like bruises. The ship was about as big as Taeho's research lab. One end was buried in the purple moss where it had crashed. The other end pointed up at the darkening sky. There were no visible doors or windows. The whole thing pulsed slowly like a sleeping animal breathing. Taeho walked closer. His heart was beating fast. He had studied alien biology for years, but he had never seen anything like this. Most aliens in the galaxy used metal ships with engines and computers. This ship seemed to be grown rather than built. As he got closer to the ship, Taeho could see that it was badly hurt. Cracks ran along its surface. Some of the glowing veins were dark and dead. A thick, clear liquid that might have been blood leaked from several wounds in the hull. Suddenly, part of the ship's surface became clear like a window. Taeho could see inside. His breath caught in his throat. There was someone in there. Someone who needed help. The being inside the ship was unlike any alien Taeho had seen in the galactic databases. It had a body that looked almost human in shape, but its skin was clear like glass. Under the clear skin, Taeho could see organs that glowed with soft light. The being had 3 eyes arranged in a triangle on its face. All 3 eyes were closed. But what worried Taeho the most were the dark lines spreading under the being's clear skin. These lines looked like the dark spots on the ship's hull. They spread from the being's chest toward its head and arms like poison moving through its blood. The being was dying. Around the being inside the ship there were curved walls covered with what looked like living controls. These controls were flashing weak red lights. Taeho could not read the alien symbols, but he could guess what they meant. Emergency. Critical condition. Help needed. Taeho knew what he should do. He should contact the Galactic Council. He should call for help. There were proper procedures for first contact with unknown alien species. But help would take days to arrive. This being might die before morning. Tejo had spent his life studying how to heal plants. He had learned that all living things had similar needs. They needed food and water and care. Maybe he could help this alien the same way he helped sick plants. The being's 3 eyes opened slowly. They were beautiful. Each eye was a different color, blue and green and gold. The eyes looked at Tejo through the clear wall of the ship. There was intelligence in those eyes, and there was fear. Tejo pressed his hand against the ship's warm surface. He could feel it pulsing under his palm. The being inside lifted one thin arm and pressed it against the wall where Tejo's hand was. For a moment they looked at each other. 2 different species, 2 different worlds, but both understanding that life was precious. The ship's surface began to change. A section near Tejo became soft and opened like flower petals. Warm air flowed out carrying strange but pleasant smells. The ship was letting him inside. Tejo took a deep breath and stepped into the alien vessel. He was about to change the course of galactic history, but all he was thinking about was how to save a life. Tejo stepped carefully inside the alien ship. The interior was nothing like the metal starships he knew. The walls curved smoothly and glowed with soft colors that changed from blue to green to purple. Everything felt warm and alive under his fingers. The floor beneath his feet was soft like walking on thick moss. The dying alien lay in the center of a circular chamber. Now that Tejo was closer, he could see more details. The being's body was about the size of a human teenager. Its clear skin showed a network of glowing organs inside. But those dark lines he had seen from outside were spreading faster now. They crawled like black vines through the being's transparent flesh. Tejo knelt beside the alien. The 3 colored eyes looked at him with clear intelligence. The being tried to speak, but no sound came out. Instead, images flooded into Tejo's mind. He gasped as he suddenly understood. The ship was translating thoughts directly into his brain. Pain, dying, connection broken, help. The images were simple, but powerful. Tejo saw flashes of what had happened. The ship had been traveling through space when something went wrong. An explosion, systems failing, an emergency landing on this planet. And now this being was suffering from something the ship's medical systems could not fix. Tejo quickly pulled out his medical scanner from his belt. He ran it over the alien's body. The readings made no sense. The scanner showed the being's temperature was dropping fast. Its heart or whatever pumped its blood was beating irregularly. But there were other readings that Tejo's scanner was not designed to measure. Strange energy patterns that flickered and died. Around them, the ship's organic walls pulsed weakly. Symbols that Tejo could not read flashed on curved surfaces. He saw images of complex molecular structures, chemical formulas, treatment plans. The ship was trying to save its passenger, but nothing was working. Tejo tried everything he knew. He used the medical supplies from his field kit. He attempted to stabilize the alien's vital signs. He followed the instructions that the ship projected into his mind. But nothing helped. The dark lines continued to spread. The alien's 3 eyes began to close again. Hours passed. Tejo worked without stopping. His hands shook from exhaustion. Sweat ran down his face. He had studied alien biology for years. He had helped injured creatures before. But this was different. This being's body was shutting down in ways he did not understand. The ship's lights began to dim. The warm walls grew cold. Tejo realized with horror that the ship was dying too. It was connected somehow to its passenger. When one died, the other would follow. In desperation, Tejo activated his communication device. He needed to contact someone. Anyone who might have an idea. The device connected to the quantum relay and began searching for a signal. Most of the galaxy's experts were days away, but there was one person who might answer right now. The holographic display flickered to life. An old woman's face appeared. She had white hair pulled back in a simple style. Her face was wrinkled, but her eyes were sharp and bright. She smiled when she saw Tejo. It was his grandmother Sunja. She lived on Earth in a small village in the mountains. She had raised Tejo after his parents died when he was young. She had taught him to look at the world with curious eyes. She had showed him that plants could heal if you understood them properly. Sunja Kim was not a scientist. She had never gone to university. She practiced traditional Korean medicine the way her mother and grandmother had taught her. Most modern doctors did not respect her work. They said traditional medicine was just superstition and old stories. But Tejo had seen his grandmother heal people when modern medicine failed. Grandmother. Tejo's voice cracked with stress. I need your help. There is someone dying and I do not know what to do. Sunja's smile faded. She looked at her grandson with concern. Tell me everything. Start from the beginning. Tejo explained as quickly as he could. He described the crashed ship, the alien being with 3 eyes and clear skin, the dark lines spreading like poison through its body, the ship's failing medical systems, everything he had tried that had not worked. Sunja listened carefully. She asked questions. What color were the dark lines exactly? How fast were they spreading? What did the being's skin feel like? Was it hot or cold? Did the lines follow any pattern through the body? Tejo answered each question. Sunja closed her eyes and thought. Tejo waited. He knew his grandmother was searching through decades of knowledge. She was comparing symptoms, looking for patterns, drawing on wisdom that went back hundreds of generations. Finally, Sunja opened her eyes. She looked serious. Show me the being's chest, where the dark lines start. Tejo pointed his scanner at the alien's chest. The hologram showed Sunja what he saw. The dark lines all originated from one point in the center of the being's body. From there they spread outward like the roots of a dead tree. Sunja nodded slowly. I have seen something like this before. Not exactly the same, but similar. There was a man in my village many years ago. He had dark lines spreading under his skin. The doctors could not help him. They said his blood was poisoned. But it was not poison in his blood. What was it? Tejo asked desperately. His energy was blocked. Sunja said, in traditional medicine, we believe that life force flows through the body in channels. When these channels are blocked or broken, the person becomes sick. The man's life force was disconnected, cut off, like a river with a dam blocking the water. But grandmother, that is not real science, Tejo said. Then he stopped himself. Nothing else was working. Maybe he needed to think differently. How did you heal him? Tejo asked. I made him a special tea, Sunja said. It was a very old recipe passed down in my family. The tea helped restore the flow of energy through his body. It reconnected what was broken. Sunja described the recipe. She listed the herbs and roots she had used. Tejo listened carefully. His mind raced. He could not get those exact earth plants here. But during his 3 years on this planet, he had studied hundreds of local plants. Some of them had similar chemical properties to earth herbs. The silver moss that grew everywhere on this planet. It contained compounds similar to ginseng, the crystallized sap from the harmony trees. Its molecular structure was almost identical to cordyceps mushrooms from Earth. There were other plants too. Local versions of things his grandmother was describing. It was crazy. It went against all his scientific training. You could not just mix alien plants together and expect them to work like Earth medicine. The biology was completely different. The chemistry would not match. It could kill the alien faster, but the alien was dying anyway. Modern medicine had failed. The ship's advanced medical systems had failed. Tejo had nothing left to lose. Grandmother, Tejo said slowly, if I made a version of your tea using plants from this planet, plants with similar properties to the ones you described, could it work? Sunja looked at him through the hologram. Her eyes were kind but serious. I do not know, Tejo. I have never treated an alien before. But I know this. All living things are connected. We are all made from the same universe. If this being's life force is blocked, then maybe we can help restore it. Trust your knowledge. Trust your heart. The hologram faded as the connection ended. Tejo sat in the dim ship beside the dying alien. His grandmother's words echoed in his mind. All living things are connected. He looked at the alien's 3 fading eyes. He looked at the dark lines spreading through clear skin. Then he made his decision. Tejo stood up and ran out of the ship. He had work to do. Tejo ran through the crystal forest like his life depended on it. His breath came in sharp gasps. The twin moons of Kepler 442b gave enough light for him to see the glowing harmony trees. He knew exactly where to find what he needed. 3 years of studying this planet's plants had prepared him for this moment, even though he had not known it. First, he needed the silver moss. It grew thick on the ground near the older harmony trees. Tejo dropped to his knees and carefully gathered handfuls of the soft moss. It felt cool against his hot skin. The moss glowed faintly silver in his hands like captured moonlight. He put it carefully in his collection bag. Next, he needed the crystallized sap from the harmony trees. This was harder to get. The sap only formed where branches had broken and healed. Tejo searched tree after tree looking for the right spots. Finally, he found several places where the clear sap had hardened into amber-colored crystals. He used his knife to carefully chip them away. Each crystal caught the light and split it into rainbow colors. There were other plants too. Small purple flowers that grew in the shadows. Root bulbs that stored water underground. Tejo gathered everything his grandmother had described. Everything that matched the properties of her ancient earth recipe. His scientific mind worked quickly, calculating dosages and molecular combinations. The run back to the crashed ship took 15 minutes. 15 minutes that felt like hours. Tejo's legs burned with effort. His collection bag bounced against his side. Please let me be in time. Please let this work. He prayed to ancestors and science and anything that might listen. When he reached the ship, he saw that it looked worse. The white surface had turned gray. The glowing veins were almost completely dark. The opening that had welcomed him before barely responded to his presence. It opened slowly like a tired mouth. Inside, the alien was barely alive. The 3 colored eyes were closed. The dark lines had spread to cover almost the entire body. The being's chest rose and fell so slightly that Tejo had to watch carefully to see breathing at all. But Tejo did not have time for fear. He pulled out his portable lab equipment. He had always carried these tools for analyzing plant samples in the field. Now he would use them to create medicine. He crushed the silver moss with careful precision. He dissolved the crystallized sap in purified water. He mixed the purple flowers and root bulbs according to his grandmother's instructions, modified by his own knowledge of alien biochemistry. The ship watched him work. Tejo could feel its attention on him even though it was dying too. Symbols flickered weakly on the walls showing chemical formulas. The ship was analyzing what Tejo was doing. It seemed curious or maybe desperate enough to try anything. After an hour of careful work, Tejo had created something that looked like pale green tea. It smelled strange but not unpleasant, like earth forests mixed with alien flowers, like home and far away at the same time. He held the container in shaking hands. This could kill the alien instantly. The thought hit Tejo hard. He was about to give an unknown substance to a dying being from another world. Every rule of medicine said this was wrong. Every protocol forbade it. But every conventional treatment had already failed. Tejo looked at the alien's 3 closed eyes. He remembered his grandmother's words. All living things are connected. Trust your knowledge. Trust your heart. The ship seemed to understand what Tejo needed. A thin tube extended from the wall near the alien's body. It was one of the ship's bio-integration ports that connected directly to the being's circulatory system. Tejo carefully poured his remedy into the port. The pale green liquid disappeared into the tube and flowed into the alien's body. For a long moment, nothing happened. The alien remained still. The dark lines stayed dark. Tejo's heart sank. He had failed. He had been foolish to think that ancient earth medicine could heal an alien being. Then something changed. It started small. One of the dark lines near the alien's chest seemed to lighten slightly. From black to dark gray, Tejo leaned closer, thinking his tired eyes were playing tricks on him. But it was real. The dark line was definitely getting lighter. And then another line began to change.
And another!
The black poison that had spread through the alien's body began to retreat. It pulled back slowly at first, then faster. The dark lines faded from black to gray to pale shadows and then disappeared completely. The alien's body began to glow, not just the organs inside, but the clear skin itself. Colors appeared that had not been visible before. Swirls of gold and blue and green ran across the alien's skin like auroras in a night sky. Intricate patterns emerged. Beautiful designs that looked like they meant something important. The 3 eyes opened suddenly. All at once. Blue and green and gold blazing with light and life. The alien gasped and sat up quickly. Its body moved with fluid grace that had been impossible minutes before. The being looked at its own hands, turning them over in wonder. The clear skin now showed those magnificent patterns flowing beneath the surface. The ship came alive around them. The gray walls turned brilliant white. The dead veins filled with pulsing blue light. Warmth flooded back into the chamber. Symbols danced across every surface. The ship was singing with joy in a language Tejo could feel but not hear. The alien turned to look at Tejo. Those 3 eyes focused on him with intense concentration. Then the being spoke. The words came directly into Teho's mind, but they were clear and precise. The voice was musical and strange and somehow familiar all at once. Impossible. The alien's thoughts were full of shock and confusion. A human has restored the sacred connection. How do your kind know the ancient ways? Teho did not understand. Sacred connection. Ancient ways. He had just used traditional medicine and local plants. What was the alien talking about? The being stood up. It was slightly taller than Teho. The patterns on its skin glowed and shifted constantly like living art. The alien placed one hand over its chest where the dark lines had begun. Where they were now completely gone. I am Vel. The alien's thoughts came with a sense of formal introduction. I am Ashanti. My species has served the masters for 10,000 of your years. When my ship crashed, the emergency systems cut my connection to my master. This was supposed to let me die. It was a failsafe to protect the master's secrets. But you have restored what should not be restored. You have reconnected what was meant to stay broken. Vel walked around the chamber, testing its body. Every movement was graceful and sure. The alien touched the walls of the ship, and the walls responded with happy pulses of light. Vel and the ship were connected in ways Teho was only beginning to understand. Your people should not have this knowledge. Vel turned back to Teho. The three eyes studied him carefully. The galaxy believes my species is advanced, that we are masters of biotechnology, that we travel the stars because of our own achievements. But this is not truth. Vel gestured at the ship around them, at its own patterned skin, at the miraculous healing that had just occurred. We Ashanti are servants. We are caretakers and gardeners. We maintain the technology, but we did not create it. Our masters created everything. They taught us how to use the sacred connection between all living things. They showed us how to blend biology and consciousness and energy into one. But even we cannot restore a broken connection. Only the masters can do that, or so we thought. The alien moved closer to Teho. The three colored eyes seemed to look into his soul. What you did should be impossible. Unless Vel stopped. The patterns on its skin flickered and changed color, showing confusion and wonder. Unless your species is something we never suspected. Something that changes everything we know about the galaxy, about the past, about who the masters really are. Teho felt cold despite the warmth of the ship. What are you saying? Before Vel could answer, the ship's walls flashed with urgent red light. Symbols appeared that even Teho could read. They were universal warning signs used across the galaxy. Incoming unknown ship. Massive energy signature. Arrival in 3 days. Vel's skin turned pale. The pattern stopped moving. The alien's three eyes went wide with fear. They are coming, Vel whispered into Teho's mind. My masters. They detected that I survived the failsafe. They are coming to learn how. And when they discover a human was responsible, Vel looked at Teho with something like pity. Your species is young. Your planet is far from galactic center. The masters have destroyed entire civilizations that learned too much about them. But what you did, what your grandmother taught you, this should only be possible for another master. Teho felt the weight of those words settle on him. He had saved a life. He had done what his heart and his grandmother's wisdom told him was right, but he might have just doomed humanity. The 3 days that followed were the strangest of Teho's life. Vel stayed with him at the research station, while the alien ship repaired itself in the crystal forest. The other scientists were amazed and frightened by their unexpected visitor. Dr. Park wanted to contact the Galactic Council immediately, but Vel asked them to wait, to understand first before acting. Teho spent hours talking with Vel. The alien explained things about the galaxy that no one else knew. Secret truths that had been hidden for over 1,000,000 years. Each revelation made Teho's understanding of the universe shift and change. Vel's people, the Ashanti, were not what the galaxy believed. Everyone thought the Ashanti were brilliant scientists who had mastered biotechnology thousands of years ago. Their ships were famous. Their medical advances were studied in every university. Ashanti traders and diplomats traveled to hundreds of worlds, but it was all a lie. Not a cruel lie, a protective one. The Ashanti were gardeners, caretakers, shepherds of knowledge they did not create. Everything they had came from their masters. The beautiful bioships, the medical technology, the ability to blend living tissue with mechanical systems. All of it was gifted to them by beings who remained hidden. Why do your masters hide? Teho asked. Why not share their knowledge openly with the galaxy? Vel's patterns shifted to dark blue. A color Tejo had learned meant sadness or worry. Because young species are dangerous. They take knowledge and make weapons. They see power and want to control it. The masters learned this lesson long ago. Now they guide from shadows. They share small pieces of wisdom through servant races like mine. They watch and wait for species to grow mature enough to understand. But that does not explain why they are coming to find me. Tejo said, I just used plant medicine, old knowledge from Earth. Vel's three eyes focused on Tejo with intense interest. That is exactly why they are coming. What you call plant medicine, what your grandmother knows. It should not exist in the galaxy anymore. The old ways were lost. Or so everyone believed. Vel walked to the window of Tejo's lab. Outside, the harmony trees glowed in the afternoon light. The alien touched the glass gently as if remembering something from long ago. Let me tell you the true history. Vel's thoughts were heavy with ancient sorrow. Over 1 million years ago, there was a race called the Old Ones. They were the first species in this galaxy to truly understand life. Not just biology or chemistry, but the deeper truth. That all living things are connected through invisible channels of energy. Tejo listened carefully. This sounded like what his grandmother called life force or chi, the concept that traditional Earth medicine was built upon. The Old Ones learned to work with these connections. Vel continued. They could heal any illness by restoring balance. They could communicate across vast distances through living bonds. They created technology that was alive and conscious. They achieved harmony between body and mind and spirit that no one has matched since. What happened to them? Tejo asked, though he feared the answer. They were destroyed. Vel's patterns turned gray. There was a catastrophe. The records are unclear about the cause. Some say it was a war. Others believe it was a natural disaster on a galactic scale. But within a few thousand years, the Old Ones were gone. Their colonies were destroyed. Their knowledge was scattered. Only fragments remained. The masters rose from those fragments. Vel turned back to face Tejo. They found some of the Old Ones' technology. They learned some of the old ways, but it was incomplete, like having pieces of a map with most of the paper burned away. The masters spent 1 million years trying to preserve what little they knew. They created servant races like the Ashanti to help guard this knowledge until what? Tejo asked. Until the Old Ones returned. Vel's three eyes blazed with intensity. The masters have searched the galaxy for 1 million years, looking for any trace of the Old Ones, any survivors, any descendants who might carry the knowledge in their blood or their culture. But they found nothing. The Old Ones seemed to be completely extinct. Tejo felt a strange sensation in his chest, like something important was about to be revealed. Something that would change everything. Then you healed me, Vel said softly. You used knowledge that should not exist. Your grandmother knew about energy channels in the body, about restoring connections between life force, about using plants to balance what was broken. This is Old One knowledge, pure and complete, not fragments, not pieces. The real thing, the words hung in the air between them. Tejo's mind raced. His grandmother had learned from her mother, who had learned from her mother going back generations. Traditional Korean medicine was thousands of years old, but the Old Ones had lived 1 million years ago. How could there be a connection? Vel seemed to read his thoughts. Your planet Earth. It is far from the galactic center. It is in a region that most species ignore. A backwater arm of the galaxy that seems empty and unimportant. The perfect place to hide survivors of a catastrophe. No, Tejo shook his head. That is impossible. Humans evolved on Earth. We have fossil records going back millions of years. We know our history, do you? Vel asked gently. Or do you know the history that your planet's geology can show you? The Old Ones had technology beyond anything we can imagine. They could seed worlds with life. They could change genetics. They could make a species forget its own past if they needed to. Vel moved closer to Tejo. The alien's patterns swirled with colors that seemed to show excitement and certainty. Think about it. Your species has something no other species in the galaxy has. You have dozens of different traditional medicine systems. Korean, Chinese, Indian, Native American, African, European, all of them based on the same core idea. That life force flows through the body. That balance can be restored through natural means. That all living things are connected. Tejo had never thought about it that way. He had assumed traditional medicine was just humanity's early attempt to understand health before modern science. But what if it was something else? Something older. Other species in the galaxy developed medicine too, Vel continued. But they all went straight to technological solutions. Surgery, drugs, machines. Only humans kept the old ways alive, generation after generation, grandmother to grandchild, for thousands of years. Why? Unless those old ways were so deeply planted in your culture that they could not be forgotten even when you did not understand where they came from. Tejo sat down heavily. His legs felt weak. Everything he thought he knew about humanity's place in the galaxy was crumbling. We are descendants of the old ones. We are the survivors you have been searching for. Yes. Vel's thoughts were absolutely certain, and now my masters know. When I was healed, the ship sent out signals across dimensions that only the masters can detect. Those signals told them that Old One knowledge still exists, that it was used by a human. They are coming to confirm what they have hoped for across 1,000,000 years of searching. But you said they destroy civilizations that learn too much. Tejo felt cold again. Are they coming to destroy Earth? Vel's patterns shifted through many colors at once: confusion, hope, fear, wonder. I do not know. The masters have never found what they were looking for before. I do not know if they will see your people as the return of the old ones or as a threat that knows too much. I do not know if they will welcome you or eliminate you. The alien looked out the window again at the glowing harmony trees. Everything depends on how they interpret what you did. If they believe humans are truly the inheritors of Old One wisdom, then everything changes. The masters might finally come out of hiding. They might share everything they have preserved. The galaxy might enter a new age of understanding, and if they do not believe it, Tejo asked quietly, then they will assume humans somehow stole or accidentally discovered knowledge too dangerous for a young species, and they will make sure that knowledge dies with your planet. Silence filled the lab. Outside, the crystal forest glowed peacefully. The twin suns began to set, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. Somewhere in space, a ship was traveling toward them, a ship carrying beings who would decide the fate of humanity. Tejo thought about his grandmother, about her small house in the mountains, about the herbs drying in her kitchen, about the ancient recipes passed down through countless generations, about the wisdom that everyone said was just superstition. That wisdom might save humanity, or it might doom them. How long until they arrive? Tejo asked. Vel checked the ship's readings through their connection. 18 hours. Then we will have our answer. The 18 hours passed too quickly and too slowly at the same time. Tejo barely slept. He spent the night preparing for something he could not fully prepare for. How did you get ready to meet beings who had existed for over 1,000,000 years? Beings who would judge whether your entire species deserved to live? Vel helped him understand what to expect. The alien explained that the masters were not cruel or violent by nature. They were patient and wise. But they were also absolutely committed to protecting the knowledge of the old ones. If they decided humans were a threat, they would act without hesitation or mercy. Will they destroy the whole planet? Tejo asked as dawn broke over the crystal forest. Vel's patterns flickered with uncertainty. I have never heard of them destroying a world. But I have heard of species that simply disappeared from galactic records, colonies that stopped responding, civilizations that collapsed mysteriously. The masters have ways of making problems vanish without violence. That was somehow more terrifying than the idea of weapons or war. The other scientists at the research station were terrified when Tejo finally told them the truth. Dr. Park wanted to evacuate immediately, but Vel explained it was pointless. The masters could track them anywhere in the galaxy. Running would only make humans look guilty. As the twin suns reached their highest point in the sky, Vel's patterns suddenly blazed bright white. They are here. The alien's thoughts were tight with tension. The ship is entering orbit now. Tejo looked up at the blue sky. He could not see anything, but he knew something massive was up there. Something ancient and powerful. Something that would decide humanity's future in the next few hours. They want me to bring you to the surface landing site, Vel said, alone, just you and me. They will meet us there, Dr. Park protested. You cannot go alone. We should have military support, diplomatic teams, protection. But Tejo shook his head. If the masters wanted to harm us, no military could stop them. and bringing weapons would only prove we are too dangerous to live. I have to go. I have to show them who we really are. Vel led Tejo through the crystal forest to a wide clearing he had never seen before. The harmony trees formed a perfect circle around open ground covered in silver moss. It looked like a natural amphitheater, or maybe it had been grown this way on purpose long ago. They waited in the center of the clearing. The twin suns were warm on Tejo's face. His heart beat fast but steady. He thought about his grandmother, about her gentle hands preparing tea, about her patient voice explaining how plants and people were connected. If he died today, at least he had tried to honor her wisdom. The air above them began to shimmer. Not like heat waves. Like reality itself was bending. Tejo felt pressure in his ears. His skin tingled. The harmony trees around the clearing blazed with light so bright he had to look away. Then the ship appeared. It did not fly down or land. It simply existed suddenly where it had not existed before. The vessel was enormous, easily 10 times the size of the research station. But it made no sound. It floated above the ground as silent as a cloud. The ship's surface was like nothing Tejo had ever seen. It seemed to be made of liquid light that constantly flowed and changed. Colors shifted from gold to silver to deep purple. Patterns moved across the hull like schools of fish swimming through water. The ship was alive in ways that made Vel's vessel look simple. A section of the ship opened. Not a door. The surface just became transparent and then non-existent. A figure emerged and floated down to the ground without any visible means of support. Tejo's breath caught in his throat. The being that stood before him was humanoid, but clearly not human. It was tall and slender. Its skin seemed to be made of flowing water that held a vaguely solid shape. Features appeared and disappeared on its face like reflections on a pond. Eyes formed and then dissolved and then reformed in different positions. The being wore no clothes because its body was its clothes. Everything flowing together in constant gentle motion, but the eyes. When they formed and focused on Tejo, they held depth beyond measure. These eyes had watched galaxies turn, had seen species rise and fall, had carried the weight of 1,000,000 years of memory and purpose. Human. The voice did not come from the being's mouth. It came from everywhere at once, from the air and the ground and Tejo's own bones. Your species should not possess the knowledge to restore the sacred bonds. Explain or your world dies. The words were not a threat. They were a simple statement of fact, like saying water is wet or fire is hot. If Tejo could not explain, then Earth would end. That was just how things were. Tejo swallowed hard. His mouth was dry. Every instinct screamed at him to run. But he stood his ground. He thought about all the humans back on Earth. Billions of people who had no idea their existence hung by a thread. His grandmother working in her garden. Children playing. Families eating dinner together. All of it depending on what he said next. My name is Tejo Kim. He spoke clearly despite his fear. I am a scientist who studies plants. When I found Vel dying, I tried to save them. I used knowledge passed down in my family. Knowledge my grandmother taught me. Knowledge that goes back many generations on Earth. The being's form rippled. The eyes multiplied briefly, then reduced back to 2. This knowledge, where did your grandmother learn it? From her mother, Tejo said. Who learned from her mother? Who learned from her mother? Our traditional medicine goes back thousands of years. We have many different systems across Earth. Korean medicine, Chinese medicine, Indian medicine. All built on the same idea. That life energy flows through the body. That illness comes from blocked or broken flow. That healing comes from restoring balance and connection. The being moved closer. Its flowing form cast no shadow. Young species do not discover this knowledge naturally. They develop technology first. Medicine through machines. Healing through chemistry. Your people should have followed that path. Why did you not? Tejo thought carefully about his answer. Because we never forgot. Our ancestors understood something important about the world. They learned to work with nature instead of against it. They saw connections that technology misses. And even as we developed science, we kept the old ways alive. Not everyone believes in traditional medicine anymore. Many humans think it is superstition. But enough of us remembered. Enough of us kept practicing. Passing the knowledge down, grandmother to grandchild. The being was silent for a long moment. The ship above them pulsed with light. Tejo could feel something happening. A conversation beyond words. The being was communicating with others, discussing, judging. Finally, the being spoke again. "You will contact your grandmother. Now I must speak with her." Vel moved quickly. The alien activated a communication device. The quantum relay connected faster than ever before. Teho realized the master's ship was boosting the signal, making it instant across light years of space. Sunja's face appeared in a hologram above the device. She looked surprised to be called. Then she saw the flowing being and her eyes went wide. But she did not panic. She did not scream. She just looked at the ancient creature with the calm curiosity she showed everything in life. "Hello," Sunja said politely. "I am Sunja Kim. Are you a friend of my grandson?" The being's form rippled in what might have been surprise. "I am Keeper Prime Yule. I am older than your species' recorded history. I have preserved knowledge across 1,000,000 years. And I must know how a human grandmother possesses wisdom that was lost before your son was born." Sunja tilted her head slightly. "I do not understand. I only know what my mother taught me. And what her mother taught her. The ways of healing. How to read the body's energy. How to use plants to restore balance. This is not special knowledge. This is just how we care for each other." Yul moved even closer to the hologram, as if proximity could help understand this impossible woman. "Where did the first of your line learn these things? Who taught the first grandmother?" Sunja smiled gently. "No one knows. The knowledge is older than memory. Some say the gods taught us. Some say we learned from watching animals heal themselves. Some say the earth itself whispered secrets to those who would listen. Does it matter where it came from? It works, it helps people. That is enough, it matters." Yule's voice carried a strange emotion Teho could not identify. Because this knowledge belonged to a people called the Old Ones. They were the first to understand the sacred connections. They were destroyed long ago. We thought their wisdom died with them, but your grandson used that wisdom to heal what I cannot heal. What none of my kind can heal. Only the Old Ones could restore a severed sacred bond. Yet a human did it. With plants and tradition and a grandmother's recipe, Yule's form suddenly became perfectly still. The flowing stopped. The being took on a more solid appearance, and in that moment Teho saw what might have been tears forming in those ancient eyes. "Tell me, human grandmother." Yule's voice was soft now, gentle. "Tell me how you see the world, how you understand life and healing and connection." Sunja did not hesitate. "All things are connected, plants and animals and people and the earth and the stars. We are all part of one great living system. When we are sick, it means we have lost our connection to this system. Healing is not about fighting illness. It is about restoring our place in the pattern, about remembering we are not separate from nature. We are nature." The golden light that flowed from Keeper Prime Yule grew brighter and brighter until Teho had to shield his eyes. The light was warm but not burning. It felt like standing in sunlight on the first day of spring. The harmony trees around the clearing responded by blazing with their own colors. Blues and purples and silvers danced through their transparent trunks. Then Yule reached out one flowing hand toward Teho. "Please, allow me to share memories. I must show you the truth. It is the only way you will understand." Teho hesitated only a moment before taking the offered hand. The keeper's touch was cool like water but solid enough to hold. The moment their hands connected, Teho's vision went white. Suddenly, he was no longer standing in the clearing. He was somewhere else. Someone else. Images and sensations flooded through his mind faster than thought. He was experiencing Yule's memories, 1,000,000 years of them compressed into moments that felt like hours. He saw the Old Ones as they had been at the height of their civilization. They looked surprisingly human. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. But their eyes held colors that shifted like oil on water. Their skin was marked with patterns that moved and changed to show emotion and thought. They wore simple robes made of living fabric that grew and adjusted to their needs. The Old Ones lived on thousands of worlds in perfect harmony with nature. Their cities were grown rather than built. Trees shaped into homes. Flowers that produced light. Rivers that flowed in patterns to create music. Everything alive and connected and beautiful. Teho saw how the Old Ones understood the sacred connections between all living things. They could feel the energy that flowed through bodies and planets and stars. They used this understanding to heal any illness, to communicate across vast distances, to create technology that was alive and conscious and kind. They did not conquer other species. They taught them, shared wisdom freely, helped young civilizations learn to work with nature instead of dominating it. The Old Ones were teachers and gardeners. They planted seeds of knowledge across the galaxy and tended them with patience. Then Tejo saw the catastrophe. It came without warning. Something went terribly wrong with one of the Old Ones' greatest projects. They had been trying to create a network that would connect all life in the galaxy into one conscious whole, a way for every living thing to feel and understand every other living thing. The ultimate expression of unity and connection. But the network failed. The energy feedback was too powerful. It cascaded across dimensions that the Old Ones had not fully understood. Worlds burned. Stars flickered. The fabric of space itself tore in places. Within a few terrible years, 90% of the Old Ones were dead. Their beautiful cities were ruins. Their knowledge was scattered and lost. The survivors tried desperately to preserve what they could. They gathered the remaining children, the youngest and most innocent. They found a world far from the galactic center, a world that had been damaged in the catastrophe but could still support life. They brought the children there and used the last of their power to give them a chance. The children would forget. Their memories would be wiped clean. They would grow up as a new species on this distant world. They would evolve naturally without the burden of their tragic history. But deep in their genetics and their culture, the survivors planted seeds. Seeds of the old knowledge, seeds that would grow slowly over thousands of generations. Seeds that would keep the most important wisdom alive even if the specific memories were gone. Then the surviving adults left. They scattered to the edges of the galaxy. Some became the keepers, dedicating themselves to preserving fragments of knowledge and protecting the secret of what had happened. Others simply faded away, too heartbroken to continue, too tired to rebuild. The world where they left the children was far from the centers of galactic civilization. It orbited a yellow sun in a quiet arm of the galaxy. It was the third planet from that sun. The survivors called it Hope in their language. But the children who grew up there would eventually call it Earth. The vision released Tejo suddenly. He gasped and almost fell. Vel caught him and steadied him. Tejo's mind reeled from everything he had seen, everything he now understood, you see. Yule's voice was gentle. Humans are not descendants of the Old Ones. Humans are the Old Ones. You are our children who we sent away to save. We hoped that someday when you were ready, you would rediscover the old ways naturally, through science and wisdom combined. We never imagined you would keep the knowledge alive through tradition alone. Sunja's face in the hologram showed understanding, dawning. She looked at her own hands as if seeing them for the first time. This is why the old ways work. This is why every culture on Earth has similar ideas about energy and balance and connection. We were remembering something planted deep inside us. Yes. Yule moved closer to the hologram. His flowing form seemed almost reverent. You, grandmother, are the inheritors of the most precious gift in the galaxy, the Old One's wisdom about the fundamental nature of life itself, and you have kept it alive through love and teaching. Through grandmother to grandchild, through patience and faith, you did what we keepers could not do with all our technology and power. You preserved the heart of the knowledge, not just the techniques, but the understanding, the philosophy, the truth that all life is one. Tejo finally found his voice. So when I used grandmother's remedy on Vel, I was using Old One biosymbiotic techniques. Techniques that your servant species know about but cannot fully master because they learned from fragments, while we learned from living tradition. Exactly. Yule's eyes focused on Tejo with intensity. The sacred bonds that connect all living things can only be restored by those who truly understand the connections. The Ashanti know the bonds exist. They use them. But they cannot repair them when broken, because they learned the technique without the deeper truth. You humans have the deeper truth. You have it in your traditional medicine, in your martial arts that speak of chi and energy flow, in your meditation practices that teach unity with nature, in your grandmother's tea recipe that heals what technology cannot. But this is wonderful news. Vel's patterns blazed with happy colors. The Old One's true heirs have been found. After 1,000,000 years of searching, humans can reclaim their heritage. They can learn the full extent of their ancestors' knowledge. The galaxy can finally heal from the ancient catastrophe. Yule's form rippled with an emotion that looked like sadness. It is not that simple. Humans have developed differently than the Old Ones. You have technology we never created, weapons we never imagined. You have war and competition and conflict built into your current culture. The old ones were peaceful by nature after millions of years of evolution. But humans are young and aggressive and unpredictable. The golden light dimmed slightly. Yul looked at Taeho and then at Sunja's hologram. I came here prepared to destroy your world if necessary. If I found that humans had stolen Old One knowledge and were using it for selfish purposes. But instead I find that you are the knowledge. You are what we have protected for 1,000,000 years. And now I face an impossible question. What question? Taeho asked, though he thought he knew the answer. Whether to reveal the truth to your species. Whether to give you access to the full Old One heritage. The technology. The biosymbiotic skills. The ability to work with the sacred connections consciously instead of instinctively. This knowledge could help humanity ascend to heights you cannot imagine, but it could also give you power to cause another catastrophe, perhaps one even worse than the first. Sunja spoke from the hologram. Her voice was calm and wise. You are asking if we are ready, if we have grown enough, if we can be trusted with our own heritage. Yes, Yul's form became very still. I am asking if the children have become adults, or if they are still too young, too dangerous, too likely to hurt themselves and others with knowledge they are not mature enough to handle. Silence fell over the clearing. The harmony trees dimmed their lights as if sensing the weight of the moment. Somewhere overhead, the massive keeper ship waited. Inside it were other keepers also waiting for Yul's decision. Taeho thought about humanity, about all the beautiful things humans had created, art and music and stories, love and friendship and family, the way his grandmother had taught him with patience and kindness, the way people came together to help each other in times of trouble. But he also thought about the wars, the weapons, the times humans had hurt each other and the planet, the greed and hatred and fear that still existed in human society. Humanity had come far, but there was still so much growing left to do. I cannot answer for all humans, Taeho said finally. I can only tell you what I believe. We are not perfect. We make mistakes. We sometimes choose conflict over peace. But we are learning, slowly, painfully, but learning. And I think, he paused, searching for the right words. I think the fact that we kept the old wisdom alive even when we did not fully understand it, even when others called it superstition, that means something. That means we have not forgotten the most important truths even while we were growing up. Yul looked at him for a long moment. Then the keeper turned to Sunja. And you, grandmother, what do you think? Are your people ready? Sunja smiled her gentle smile. I think my grandson is right. We are not perfect, but we are trying. Yul's form shimmered with colors that moved too fast for Taeho to identify. The ancient keeper was thinking, processing, making a decision that would affect the entire galaxy. The harmony trees around them pulsed gently as if offering encouragement. Even nature itself seemed to understand the importance of this moment. Finally, Yul spoke. Your words have wisdom, grandmother, perhaps more wisdom than I have gained in 1,000,000 years. I have been thinking like a guardian, like a protector who must decide when to give a gift. But you are right. You do not wait for growth to finish before you provide what is needed for growing. The keeper's form began to solidify, taking on a more defined shape. For the first time, Taeho could see clear features on Yul's face. A nose, a mouth, cheekbones. The keeper was becoming more human in appearance, as if the decision to trust humanity was making Yul more like them. I will not give you everything at once, Yul said. That would be like handing a child all the tools in a workshop and expecting them not to get hurt. But I will not hide the truth anymore either. Humanity will know its heritage, and humanity will have the choice to reclaim it at its own pace. What does that mean? Taeho asked. How do we reclaim our heritage? Yul gestured, and the massive ship overhead began to descend slowly. It settled into the clearing with impossible grace. Something that large should have crushed the moss and broken the ground, but it rested as lightly as a feather. The ship's surface opened and warm light spilled out. It means we will establish an embassy on Earth, Yul said. A place where humans can come to learn about the old ones, to study the preserved knowledge, to begin training in biosymbiotic techniques if they choose. But it will be your choice. We will not force anything on your species. We will be teachers, not masters. Guides, not rulers. Vel's patterns blazed with excitement. This is unprecedented. The keepers have never revealed themselves openly to any species. You are giving humans what no one else has received in 1,000,000 years. Direct access to the source because humans are not just any species. Yul turned back to the hologram where Sunja watched with patient eyes. They are the last living connection to the old ones. Not through genetics alone, but through living tradition. Through the wisdom that grandmothers pass to grandchildren. This is more valuable than any technology we have preserved. This is the spirit of the old ones still alive in the universe. Taeho felt tears forming in his eyes. He thought about what this meant. Not just for him, but for all humans. For his grandmother and her village. For the traditional healers around Earth who had been dismissed as superstitious. For everyone who had kept the old ways alive when the modern world said they were worthless. You are saying that the knowledge we almost forgot is the most important knowledge in the galaxy. Taeho said softly. Yes. Yul's voice carried deep emotion. You preserved what we could not. The heart of wisdom. The understanding that all life is connected. That healing comes from restoring balance, not forcing change. That technology should serve life, not replace it. These truths were nearly lost forever. But they survived in your traditional practices. In your martial arts. In your meditation. In your grandmother's tea. Sunja smiled from the hologram. So what happens now? Do you take Taeho away to teach him? Do you come to Earth and disrupt everyone's lives? How does this new relationship work? Yul moved closer to the hologram projection. His form rippled with what looked like respect. That is the question we must answer together, grandmother. I do not want to disrupt your world. I do not want to create chaos or fear. But I also cannot hide anymore. The keepers have been in shadow for too long. It is time for the children to know their parents. Time for the lost family to reunite. Then come slowly, Sunja said with the practical wisdom of someone who had lived a long, full life. Do not arrive with 1,000 ships and overwhelming power. Come quietly. Come as students. Come to learn from us even as you teach us. Show humanity that you respect what we have become. Show us that you value our wisdom even though it is simpler than yours. Yul was silent for a moment. Then the keeper's form glowed with warm golden light. You are teaching me already. I came prepared to judge, to test, to decide if humans were worthy. But you have turned it around. You are showing me how to be worthy of you. How to approach reunification with humility instead of authority. The keeper turned to Taeho. Dr. Kim, will you be my first student? Will you come with me to learn the full extent of your heritage? And then will you return to Earth to teach others? To be the bridge between the keepers and humanity? Taeho's heart raced. This was everything he had ever wanted as a scientist. Access to knowledge beyond imagining. The chance to learn biosymbiotic techniques that could heal any illness. Technology that worked with nature instead of against it. He would be the first human to fully reclaim the Old One legacy. But he looked at the hologram of his grandmother. At her kind, wrinkled face. At the simple room behind her with herbs drying on the walls. He thought about all the traditional healers on Earth who had kept the wisdom alive without recognition or reward. They deserve to be part of this too. I will come, Taeho said. But not alone. I want to bring others. Traditional healers from different cultures. People who have preserved the old ways. They should learn alongside me. They should be honored for what they have protected. Yul's eyes seemed to shine with approval. Wise like your grandmother, yes, bring them. Bring as many as wish to come. The Keeper Embassy will welcome all who carry the old wisdom in their hearts and hands. Vel stepped forward. And what of my people? What of the Ashanti and the other servant races? How does this change things for us? You are free, Yul said simply. You have always been free to leave our service if you wished, but most species choose to stay because we offer knowledge and purpose. Now that humans are returning to their heritage, you will have new teachers, new partners. The galaxy is about to change in ways we cannot predict, but I believe it will change for the better. The Keeper looked up at the sky, at the stars that were starting to appear as the twin suns set. Other Keepers are already traveling to Earth. They will arrive within weeks. They will establish the embassy in a location your government chooses. We will work with your leaders, with your scientists, with your spiritual teachers. We will move at whatever pace humanity feels comfortable with. And the rest of the galaxy, Taeho asked. What will you tell the other species the truth? Yul said, that the Old One's heirs have been found, that humanity carries ancient wisdom thought lost, that a new age is beginning. Some species will be happy, some will be jealous, some will be afraid. But that is for them to work through. The Keepers will make clear that Earth is under our protection, that anyone who threatens humanity will face consequences. Vel's patterns turned thoughtful. The political implications are enormous. Every species will want to establish relations with Earth, to learn from humans. To gain advantage from this new knowledge, yes, you'll agreed, which is why we must move carefully. Why we must help humanity prepare for the attention they will receive. The galaxy is about to discover that the quiet backwater world they ignored is actually the most important planet in known space. Tejo felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders, but he also felt excitement, hope, pride in his grandmother and his ancestors who had kept the flame alive through so many generations. When do we start? Tejo asked. Now. Yul gestured toward the ship. Say goodbye to your friends at the research station. Gather whatever you need. We leave for Earth in 3 days. You will contact the traditional healers you want to bring. I will contact your world's governments. And then we begin the greatest teaching project in galactic history. Tejo turned to the hologram of Sunja. Grandmother, thank you. For teaching me. For keeping the old ways alive. For being exactly who you are. Sunja's eyes were misty, but her smile was bright. I am proud of you, Tejo. Your parents would be proud too. Go and learn. Then come home and teach. But remember the most important lesson. What is that grandmother knowledge without wisdom is dangerous. Power without compassion is destructive. Never forget that the point of all this learning is not to become powerful. It is to help others to heal, to restore connections. To make the universe a more balanced and harmonious place. I will remember. Tejo promised. The hologram faded. Tejo stood in the clearing surrounded by glowing harmony trees. Beside him was Vel, the alien he had saved with traditional medicine. Before him was Yul, the ancient keeper who had searched for 1,000,000 years. Above him was a living ship that represented technology beyond imagination. But the most important thing was not here in this clearing. It was back on Earth in a small mountain village, an old woman preparing tea from herbs she had grown herself, passing knowledge to anyone who would listen, keeping wisdom alive not because it was powerful or impressive, but because it was true, because it helped people, because it connected all living things. That was the real heritage of the old ones, not their technology, not their biosymbiotic ships or their healing techniques, but their understanding, their philosophy, their truth. All life is connected. Healing comes from restoring balance. Work with nature, not against it. These simple ideas had survived a galactic catastrophe, had crossed 1,000,000 years,